Hi guys, it's Becca. I am back for my week 68 check-in. I'm still continuing to work on the Portrait a Day project. This week I started working in a very specific limited color palette, so burnt umber, raw umber, burnt sienna. And the point of it is that you're supposed to begin to understand a very simplified, warm, and cool palette. And by simplified, I mean still extremely complicated and hard to understand when you're actually trying to implement it. So you'll see my paintings did get a little bit better. Every one that I did seemed like I understood it slightly more, but at first I was like really overthinking it, and that led to some like kind of scary looking pictures. So I was, thinking about like, okay, so the light's cool, so the skin tone's warm, and the reflected light is warm, and the core shadow's cool, and so I was just like trying to be very mathematical about it, and it made my portrait looked like I was a dead person. So I tried to be more intuitive about it going forward. I think at some point, once you're really good, you can actually think through a color strategy. But for me, I was thinking way too much and it was making things look very scary. So small improvements through each of these. They're still like kind of funky. And one of the weird advantages that I hadn't thought of about doing Watts online was that you actually can get immediate feedback because you are drawing from a reference photo that Jeff's already drawn. So if you find yourself going off the rails somewhere, it's really easy to look at his drawing and say like, oh, the proportions are wrong, or I included some shadows that weren't right, or the values are wrong, etc. So when I'm working on these on my own, I kind of don't really know what is going wrong with them other than they look kind of funky. So I'm trying to do a bunch of things like really think about it after I'm done and kind of critique them and figure out where things are going wrong. And I also did a little experiment where I brought one of the paintings into Photoshop and was trying to adjust the colors in there to see if I could fix things and see where, if it was the values, if it was the colors. So I desaturated it, and the black and white values looked much, much better than the color values. It looks much more like the lay-in that I had done. So again, confirming that my colors are really where things are falling apart most aggressively. Obviously, these are not perfect paintings to begin with, but the color is where things get like really ugly. Let's be honest, they're not pretty. So on the bright side, these are really fun. I feel like I could paint all day and take no breaks. I mean, 2 hours goes by and I feel like I don't even move. Like I don't get a snack, I don't go to the bathroom, I just am so focused and it's so easy. Versus when I'm doing very intentional kind of challenging training with drawing, time seems to go by very slow sometimes. So obviously I can't paint like this forever. At some point I have to do these very basic studies and go back to learning how to paint shapes would probably be a good place to start, and learning how the color palette, or I'm sorry, what is that circle? Color wheel. God, the color wheel, how the color wheel works and that kind of thing. But no, that's my dog. But yeah, that's it for the week. Clearly. Onto the drawings.